Hello to all of you Coffee with the Sarlos listeners. Before we jump into today's show, I just wanted to apologize to anyone who is with us on YouTube. Our cameras did not work properly during this recording, so today's episode will be strictly by audio. Thank you for your patience. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Sarlos. I'm Kelly.
Good morning, I'm Karen.
We're going to start off with show notes today as usual. We have our Evening with Medium events coming up on December 4th. Fingers are still crossed. We haven't made any decision just yet. We will let you know if we need to cancel the event, in which case everyone who's holding tickets to that event will be fully refunded, so no sweat there. We have yet to secure any 2021 dates simply because of where we're at with COVID, but as soon as that happens, we will definitely blast that out through social media and our newsletter, so stay tuned.
We have a second podcast series called Sips of Sanity. Those are 10 to 15 minute shows just packed with emotional, spiritual, and intuitive intelligence tools. The very first show is always free. It's available at the website by sarlo.com and it's on YouTube. The remaining 4 shows and every single series that goes with that first show is available at patreon.com/by-sarlo.
Nailed it. Good job. To further the Patreon information, we want to let you know that it's a paid membership platform that's used with the intention to educate people. So, Karen, you talked about the fact that it's emotional, spiritual, and intuitive intelligence. Along with that, it's not just Sips of Sanity as a podcast. It's reflective questions, habit trackers, so that you actually can implement the tools that you're hearing about. So it kind of takes Coffee with the Sarlos that much further, I would say, so that you can kind of really make it personal to your own experience to make the changes that you're hoping for in your life. And we do guided meditations. We offer discussions on those journeys so that people can grow in their ability to do that and be more connected with themselves. You also have a chance for a free half-hour session every single month. We can put your name into a draw, and that just kind of bounces back and forth between Karen and I. Yeah. And as we announced last week, we are adding in the new year a book club. So many people, ask us about resources, what they can read and use as a follow-up to sessions. And the podcasts. And so we decided that we would start a book club for all of you who want to follow along with us. We'll be reading that on a month-to-month basis and generating discussions. There's also going to be a private Facebook group for anyone who wants to find your people, be involved in a community of others who are really doing the same dirty work. So you can check that out at patreon.com/by-sarlo.
We both have personal practices. You can reach both Kelly and I through the website by sarlo.com. Through COVID, we are seeing people still all over the world by FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, telephone, and WhatsApp. Oh, and TheraLink. So we have 5 different ways for you to still connect with us. 4 where you can see us, and 1 where you can stay on telephone and keep your privacy as you wish. You can record those sessions. That's your responsibility. If you want a recording, you can do that. And we always address the fact that the sessions are just as accurate. A lot of local people here where we live in Northern Ontario, Canada, think that they need to be here in person and that they're getting more accurate sessions than the rest of you. That would not be true. The sessions are the very same because our connection to the spirit world is what matters, not where you're sitting.
Lovely. And we also have gift certificates available for everyone all over the world. We can send you an e-certificate, and if you are local, we can put it in our mailbox and you can pick that up at your leisure. You can purchase those in any denomination and they do not expire. So if you're looking for a gift for Christmas, a birthday, any special occasion, or just because you think someone would benefit from the experience, you can reach out to request one of those. Good?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Ready to go?
Yes. Can I just make a comment before we start on how much I loved re-binging Jim Lenop's series for Remembrance Day last week?
Me too. And I imagine anybody that's interested in what this can do for you to be able to explain, because I think Jim went into such beautiful detail to explain as a detective, finding evidence to the information that is given. And I think some people, as you and I both know, on a day-to-day basis, dismiss all of that. And we just had a beautiful client that did not dismiss. He went out and actually found the facts. What a beautiful story about him and his grandpa.
Yes. Yeah. So now let's move into today's show, because you've been sitting on this one. Okay. Take it away.
Okay. So I need a name. Female.
A female name. Oh, goodness. I should have been thinking about this.
You should have a list.
I know. I'll go with Camilla.
Oh, okay. So Camilla is the client.
No, fuck it. Kamala. Sorry. How did I not make that?
Not good for this one.
Oh, darn.
No, because this is not a Kamala.
I'll save it.
Oh, no, she's
People are
not.
like, oh, we're in for it today.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I think everybody who's thinking of Kamala Harris is like, oh, she's going to be strong. She's going to be truthful. She's going to be.
Okay.
No.
Should I go with Melania?
Why don't we go non-political?
Neutral. Okay. All right. I'll just go with Camilla then. That's fine.
Camilla. Okay, we're back to that. Okay, good enough. So I'm going to place her because I can see her, just so that people understand who she is on the other end of Zoom or whatever it was. I would put her in her mid-30s. And she came into the session for, I think it was about an hour booking. And she asked if I could go into an open session for her at the very beginning. And that she did have some questions eventually that she would get to, which is common, right? So I just said to the spirit guides, what do you guys want to do? And they went, well, we want to be totally on task with what she's looking for this session. We are very prepared for her. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because that's not always the way that it goes.
Oh, yeah, they have their own agenda sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes, they're not on the same page. So I said to the guides, well, where do I begin? And they said, well, you're going to have to prove who you are first. And I said, oh, okay.
Super fun.
Yeah. And they said, so we're just going to start off by giving you some facts, because she's basically looking just to see if you can give her facts so that she can settle into the session. And I said, oh, okay. Cool. You mean then she could be very open? Yes, she could be. So I thought, okay, this is fair. So what do you guys want me to tell her? And they said, well, she does want to know about her own soul contract, but that's pretty general. But she still will like it because it's an idea. But in all honesty, Karen, she's on her second marriage. Her husband is on his second marriage. She and he have a daughter together, and he has 2 children of his own, and all 3 children live with them. And I'm like, well, that's factual. I'll go with that. And they said, yes, that's how we want you to start it. So I repeated all of that to her, and you took a breath. And that's basically what she did. You just did it exactly like her. And she just kind of took that breath in and just kind of sat. You know how you just kind of sat into your chair? I saw it. And I was grateful that I could see that she was sitting into it for a moment. And I said, could you let me know if all of those facts are true from your spirit guides? And I said it that way so that she would understand I'm not guessing.
And Karen Sarlo didn't look on her Facebook account.
Oh, good God, no.
Karen Sarlo doesn't know how to do that.
I was just going to say, if people understood me, they would know how difficult that was just to begin with.
Yeah.
That I'm so very rarely on Facebook, even though I have a Facebook page. Well, anyway, friends certainly know that. Right?
So does your business partner, who has to correct the things that you do on Facebook. That's
True.
me.
That's all true.
Go on.
So she sank into it and she said yes. And I said, I'm just going to go open for a minute because it's really what you asked for. I've given you some validations. And I said, the guides are saying that you needed that to start. And I'm just going to listen to them. And then I'm going to dump a whole bunch of stuff on you. But I'm going to doodle it on my page, which I did. And I said, and the page is going to be yours. So you're going to see what it is I'm channeling because it's automatic writing. Mm-hmm. And I said, and I want you to know that it's just going to be exactly the way that the guides say it and in the order that they give it. and we'll see how it plays out. So I doodled away for a good, maybe 3 minutes of doing automatic writing. And then I popped back up and I started reading the page to her, but I went slowly because the guide said, we just want you to give one fact at a time. So we started. And the very first thing that they said was, we're going to go into some past lives with you, Karen, and we're going to show them to you. So to explain that to people, what we do, it's like watching a TV screen, but one that I can get into, that you and I can actually get in and ask questions. So they showed me in a past life where she's married, she has children, she's female, and she picks the same partner. So I'm like, oh, this is the same partner that she has currently. And they're like, yes, it is. So these two are familiar. Oh, yes. And they felt that when they met. They thought when they met that there was something else here. And it's true, so you can mention this to her, that they both had this feeling that they had known each other before, even though they didn't. It was from this past life. And they thought that that was a good sign and a good omen that, and people do. It's familiar, it's my twin flame, it's a soulmate. People have this idea. And I went, okay, is that correct? Oh no. Oh no.
I heard your correction.
Yes. And I'm thinking, oh dear. And they said, no, watch it, be in it. And I see how they both verbally abuse each other. And when I ask her spirit, why are you doing this? What are you participating in? Well, I started out as a people pleaser, Karen.
I'm sorry, is this past or present?
Past life.
Okay.
I started out as this people pleaser. It was just, it was the religion I was born into. And I said, what were you born into? And I can't remember what the religion's called. Oh, Kelly. They ride in the buggies. And I don't mean this to be rude. What's that?
Oh.
Mennonite.
Okay.
Is that it? I think it's Mennonite. She says, I was raised female Mennonite, this is not my opinion. So anybody listening to this that goes, oh, I'm out, she's right, she's picking on religion.
No, she's talking about a past life.
I'm talking about this person's past life, and I'm saying that this is what was told to me. This is not my opinion. And I'm trying to get validations, and I'm just trying to give information to Camilla.
I also want to say, too, in your defense, just as an illustration, there are people who are raised Catholic who strongly believe you don't beat your children.
Yeah.
And then there's fanatics in that religion
That beat their children.
that believe that is what you're supposed to do. And they make it a part of the religion under that household.
That's right.
And those kids will grow up to believe that is
The religion.
that religion.
Oh, yes.
And so things get very skewed when they shouldn't have been, but that's just an illustration to say it's not all religions, but it's one person's perspective of it.
Yeah. So I thank you for explaining that. So I asked what had happened, and they said, well, she was raised to be a people pleaser. And in that lifetime, she stayed that way till she died. And she did not learn to speak up. And I said, okay, so what's that got to do with why she's here today as Camilla talking to me? And they said, well, she's doing the same thing. She was raised the same way. She just didn't pick the same religion. So don't say Mennonite again like this. And they said that this time she had picked Christianity, and that this time I think it was Catholic. So it was, and that she would been raised again as female Catholic to believe that you stay in a family, and that there were these very traditional, or however you want to word all of that, confining beliefs, and that she hated that. So she left the first marriage because of it. And then she went into the second marriage because of this familiarity with this man, thinking, this is my twin flame. Oh my God, we just resonate. Well, they resonated because in the past lifetime that they'd had together, he had abused the shit out of her.
Codependency.
It was total codependency. So, and they misunderstand the past life connection in this time, looking for what they think is a soulmate. Which I think is really important to say. Because I think people don't really understand what soulmates and what soul connections and contracts are really all about and what a twin flame really can be. I think that North American society or groups or people, and I'll say authors and public speakers, really confuse people. And then because they don't have a healthy perspective of it, they fall into a very bad situation. And this is what Camilla did. So she marries the second guy and has a child with him, and it's a young girl. And so the guides say, what did the guides tell me? Because I got something wrong there and they gave me shit. So I got it wrong that I said, and that the daughter was under 5. And they said she was 5. And I said under 5 because I see a 5 and under. And the guides were like, no. But she jumped all over that because it was wrong and said, no, she's 5.5. And I said to her, you're right, I'm wrong. Because I don't want to split hairs. That I see 5. And the guides looked at me like, we told you this is how she would behave at the beginning if you didn't get every single thing right. She's ready to dismiss everything. And I'm like, well, what's with that? So they said, no, we'll explain the dismissiveness later. We want you to talk about the past life with her, the pattern, and how she was attracted to this current partner, giving the pertinent facts, but also with the fact that the facts of the marriages and all of this stuff, but that it's people pleasing that's at the bottom of this. And I said, okay. So I did. And Camilla is very good I'll say equally as good to catch me when I make a mistake, to be able to say certain things are correct. So she does.
That's good, because we say to people, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, yes. We do want that, 100%. And then the guide said, now she's okay because she feels like that's pretty okay and she hasn't been judged too much. And I'm like, oh, good God, it's like walking on eggshells. And they went, yes, this is why we're really trying to move through the session with you piece by piece. And I went, okay, what's next? And they said, well, in this second relationship, she people-pleased again, and that's how she got him. And he people-pleased her, and that's how they thought this was twin flame. So they're both gaslighting each other, but we're going to call it a twin flame. Isn't that fucked?
Different kind of flame. Lit with gas.
I like your analogy.
Fires don't usually go well.
Oh, your humor's awesome. So then the guides said, this is going to turn into this lifetime. The people-pleasing turns into verbal abuse on her part. He's already done it in a past life to her. He's already done it in this lifetime to a past partner, his first wife. This partner is all set, ready to go. He's hot and ready for the verbal abuse to begin. And he's uncomfortable in the love bombing part. He's anxious to get going. He's just, he's seeing how she's going. And I said, so has it already begun? Are they thick in the middle of it? Yes, they're thick in the middle of the verbal abuse. And she's going to deny that. Be prepared. I said, what do I do when she denies verbal abuse? And they said, oh, you're going to read her the list. And I'm like, oh, okay. And confront her with the fact that she's going to say no, but she doesn't even know what verbal abuse is.
Oh my God, 99% of the time.
Yes.
That's how the conversation goes.
Yes. And I said, okay, so what do you want me to do? We want you to make sure that you stay calm and that you stay very even tone and that you don't get excited, to be happy to be helping her. Because I can get excited to help people. Mm-hmm. And they said, do not do that. Because she will see any little change in your mood or behavior as a threat. Mm-hmm. So we need for you to really get your poop in a group, Karen, and be really, really calm. Be very even, and she will open up. And I'm like, wow, okay. Can I happy dance later? They're like, yes. At lunchtime, we'll meet you in your kitchen, and we will shake it out with you. Let me tell you, I shook it out later. So...
Sounds so dirty.
I shook it out nicely.
Go on.
So I said all of this to Camilla, and I took my time. So I want to explain a bit of this. So I said, Camilla, I said, the guides are saying that you people please each other, and that ended, and that it ended because he pushed you so hard into your people pleasing that you snapped. And she went, yeah. And I said, well, he did that on purpose. He knew what he was doing. And I said his first marriage was all about the verbal abuse. It's his pattern to loop a woman in at the beginning with what Dr. Romney refers to as all that love bombing. So I'm not going to verbally abuse you. I'm going to rein it in and be nice. And then once I know we're in it, then I'll unleash my shit on you. And hopefully you're just going to stick around for it as long as the show will run. And she just looked at me and she said, what? And I said, so currently you're participating and you verbally abuse back. And she goes, no, I don't. And I said, okay. And I remember the guide saying, do not move your mood. Do not change your tone of voice. So I paused and I waited. And I could just see her kind of looking at me. And I said, I'm also being told that you don't even know what the 15 forms of abuse are. And she just kind of paused. And this was the moment. Because I could see it was like, okay, is she going to admit it? Or is she going to make me prove that she doesn't know? Mm-hmm. What is she doing here? Where is the session going to go into truthfulness? And we're going to get some work done? Or is she going to go into, I'm being threatened and I'm going to deny, attack to the end of the session? And Camilla sits there and I'm thinking, oh my God, I totally understand why the guides told me about my energy. And so I'm sitting there going, oh, I get it. I'm going to do all kinds of energy healing right now. All of these licenses that I have, I'm just going to unleash on her. So I'm just sitting there thinking and sending all of this energy healing to her, being quiet. And she looks at me, and again, I can see the shoulders drop a little bit. I can see the facial muscles change a little bit. She doesn't start playing with her hair. She doesn't do one of these. She just sits there and she kind of looks past me. She looks back at me and she goes, what are they? And I said, oh, I have them. I can text them to you right now so you can look at them on a sheet of paper. Give me a moment. And so I literally had the picture of them on my phone and I sent them to her. And we waited, so we just took a moment. And then she looks down at her thing and she goes, okay. She goes through them. And I said, I am being told that you use all.
15?
All.
Shit.
And I said, and I'm being told that he also uses all. Oh. And I said, and you need to know that if you're willing to move, and she just stops, she looks back down and she goes, you don't need to say anything. And I thought, oh boy, we're either done again or she's good and we're moving again. And she goes, I use all 15. And we paused. Oh man, did we pause.
Okay, can we pause? The reason that we're doing this is because if you're listening and you're unfamiliar with the 15 forms, 14 of them are genuinely verbal.
Yeah.
Or in the case of withholding, nonverbal, which is a form of verbal abuse. Mm-hmm. The 15th is actual physical abuse. Mm-hmm. So when we express surprise, oftentimes I will say in a session, you use 14 of the 15 forms of verbal abuse, usually insinuating you have not crossed the line to hitting something or someone. So the shock and the moment that you two are experiencing together is the fact that this woman is willing to admit she hits her husband.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very important moment.
She punches him.
A very important moment for her because she's sitting enough in her humility, where we would refer to it as a moment like a crack, where you can get something productive done, or she's going to accept that this is working for me and I'm going to stay in it.
Thank you. So I described what she did. Mm-hmm. She says, what do you know about it? And I said, the guides showed me. And I said, you punch him. And you feel that because you're a woman, it doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. Because he's a guy. because he's bigger, because he's got more muscle. You think it's okay because you're female. You're smaller than him. And I said, and you slap him. And I said, and you do it in front of other people. You do it when you're out at the mall and he says something about the dress and you go, and you slap him. And then you look at the sales lady and go, and you dismiss it with laughter. And I said, so you physically abuse, but you don't think or wouldn't qualify it as abuse because you're female, because you don't think it really counts.
And there's a mixture in there because the way that she's defending the physical abuse is by layering in another form of verbal abuse, which is verbal abuse disguised as jokes.
Yes.
So if I can throw out laughter, then you might think I did that just in fun and that I didn't mean to hit him with any kind of malice.
Mm-hmm. And I said, your friend group has called you out on it and has said things to you and said that that's not nice, that's not
That's
healthy.
fucked up.
Yeah, they haven't come out and said that's abuse. They've said that's not nice. You don't treat people that way. They've said things. And she laughs more, makes more of a joke, does it again. And I said, you're aware of it. It's been brought to your attention. He has said to you, if I did that to you, you'd call the police. So he's confronting her, but they're still staying in this poop together. And she goes, well, what else do you see? And I know exactly what she means. What does he do to me? Mm-hmm. And so he showed things where he would walk past her and just give her his shoulder. Like, we're crossing in a tight space. I could back up and let you pass, but I'm going to walk right past you, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of my shoulder. So, like, I didn't hit you. My shoulder did. But my shoulder isn't my fist, so it's not abuse. So they're both trying to split hairs, but they're not. They're playing a game saying this is permissible because a police department really wouldn't call that abuse. Well, they don't even know that. Anybody as a police officer listening to this or a lawyer or a judge might go, no, we're pretty sure that's all abuse. But they have these ideas in their mind that it would be perceived that way. And that comes from TV. That comes from movies or shit like this.
Parents.
Yeah. So I described that to her about the types of things that he does where they both think it's not really all out abuse. So they're both just edging their way. And I said, you're edging your way to more abuse. I said, I'm just being told that you've been married less than 10 years. Is that correct? And she goes, well, yeah, but could you be more specific? And I said, more specific about your years of marriage? And she goes, well, yeah, I want you to prove it. And I said, well, we just went through how you are abusing each other and you're hung up on years of marriage?
Yeah, because I'm going to divert.
Mm-hmm. And she keeps doing this repetitively.
Ugh.
So how do I wrap this up? Because this behavior is from lifetime to lifetime. And so there's a need here that the guides want to express to her that this idea that he's familiar, the second husband, is because this is another opportunity they're both looking for. And she goes, well, what do you mean? Explain that. And I said, well, in the past lifetime, you don't ever leave that marriage because of all of the beliefs of that religion. So you die in that situation as the people pleaser, hating him. So you didn't have closure, you didn't have healing in that lifetime. So the guides are saying that you have another opportunity in this lifetime. You're doing it again.
And had one, let me interrupt, because you did actually, congratulations, break the pattern by leaving the marriage in this lifetime, the first one, even though a different religion dictated the same belief that you shouldn't leave a marriage. Mm-hmm. So she did do one of the pattern interrupts and then got herself right back into the same pattern with another opportunity.
That's right. And they said that her first divorce in this current lifetime, they referred to it as a child divorce. And I thought, what do they mean? And they said petulance, fighting, blaming each other. using the children against each other in the divorce. They abused each other and abused the children through the process. This is petulance. We call it a childlike divorce. This is her opportunity in the second marriage to be able to go through a divorce, but this time an adult divorce, where she takes responsibility for her part in this relationship. She does not use the children as a tool to hurt her partner without thinking of the children at all. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity for her to adult finally. And to adult, meaning that she becomes self-aware and works on who she is. So I repeated that to her. And her response was gold.
Oh.
Her response was, oh God, Karen, what do I do? That's exactly what she said. And it wasn't, oh, poor me. Everything just was, oh my God, I could have danced and gone through the roof. But the guides were like, stay calm, stay cool. Don't elevate your emotions. She needs you to be very sure of yourself, speak, very measured so that her anxiety does not fluctuate. Mm-hmm. And she hits a button and then can't turn that button off again for decades. So I just sat there and I said to her, well, there are lots of tools and lots of resources. And she goes, well, like what? And I said to her, well, depends on what kind of learner you are. So let me ask the guides. And I think that took her aback a bit. Instead of let me ask you, I said, let me ask the guides. And she just kind of, there was a little bit of a smirk on her face, like, oh, okay, let's see. Let's see if the guides can tell you how I like learning. And the guide said she will not read a book. She will not sit and journal things. She's better off if she can hear it in small little snippets. And I'm like, okay, those would be podcasts or audiobooks. An audiobook is okay, but the podcasts are better where there's conversation. She needs conversation around things. And I thought, Dr. Margaret Rutherford. And then, I'm sitting there going, okay, Dr. Patricia Evans. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can give her so many resources. All of these podcast shows. And they went, well, she also needs your Sips of Sanity series because she wants someone else to do some of the work where there's charting and trackers, and she likes trackers. She'll use something like an Excel spreadsheet to do something where she can just print it off, 50 copies, and just tick them off each day, but make sure they're just ticking off. She doesn't want to write words in them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, she really doesn't want to do a lot of work. Yeah. Yeah. But if somehow she can be fed small steps, the baby, the childlike part of her can mature enough, but she needs to mature slowly with no criticism. Mm-hmm. Such a sensitivity to criticism. Well, yeah, because she's dishing it out and she's taking tons in every day. Mm-hmm. So they said, just go slow with her. So I suggested that on their behalf, not on my behalf. Yep. I said, this is what your guides are saying is best for you, podcast shows. And she was like, oh, I love podcasts. Yeah. She goes, but you mean podcasts like where they're going to give me tools? I don't listen to that kind of stuff. And I said, no. We have a whole series called Sips of Sanity that's laid out for you. And there are trackers. And she went, what's a tracker? And I said, it's like an Excel spreadsheet. And she's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I like. And I said, because it will hold you accountable. She goes, well, are they already done? And I knew she was going to say, do you literally fill them in and all I have to do is check them off? Because the guide said that. Yeah. And I said, yes, you only have to check them off sometimes. It's just a yes, no, or a check mark. And she's like, oh, I can do that. I really like that. That builds her self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh God, I can hardly wait to tell Kelly this. All of the work that we do in creating all of these things, I got to see right in front of me.
You know what? I'm on the same breath. I wanted to give a shout out to one of our top patrons.
Yes.
And clients, Emily. She commented on one of our actually most recent, the November habit tracker that we did. And she said, this is great. She goes, and I just want to let everyone know that I take this and I she transcribes it into a monthly tracker.
Yeah.
Because we just give you 1 week at a time, assuming
Right.
you'll just kind of print off your 4 sheets. And she puts it into a monthly and sees her progress
Yes.
over the months. And I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
So the session comes to a close end after this, in that she asks for some direction, how to get to the podcast, how to find a Dr. Margaret Rutherford and her podcast series, all of these different things about depression. And I'm not going to go into that too much, Kelly.
Well, let's go into it a tiny little bit here,
Okay.
because some people are going to be like, this isn't like 40 minutes in and you use the word depression and haven't mentioned it before. If you are steeped in verbal abuse, receiving or dishing it out or both, there is depression. So you can't separate the two if you are living in that much of it every day.
Yeah.
Especially when it is your significant other relationship.
Okay, so you've explained it perfectly, and that was explained to her. And I was going to stop that because I thought, maybe that is for a different show, but no, we can go down that road. So
Well, yeah, 'cause
she asked about it. She just couldn't understand it. She said, I'm not depressed. And I said, no, you're both depressed. And I said, and there was depression for both of you in your first marriages, but neither of you sought help. You sought each other. And you thought the fix for the depression and the patterns was just another partner. And I said, but you both went into your patterning where you both love bomb the other person. So you would never be able to see any of that because you're just presenting all that's good about you. And the other one is just in all agreement. Why don't we go to the movies? Oh, why don't we stay in tonight? Sure. Let's have pizza. Well, it's not, I don't want pizza. Sure, let's have pizza. So I said, you just go right into love bombing the petunias out of each other. And yeah.
I feel like when you make statements like that, you should then follow up by saying your age. Because they're both squares on bingo cards.
Okay.
People can play along to Coffee with the Sarlos.
Oh,
They're at
right.
their bingo sheets, things that we typically do. And one of them is Karen, does a throwback or messes up a cliched statement.
Oh, that's true. I did
It's
it.
hilarious. And I think just stating your age goes hand in hand really beautifully.
Okay, I'm 59.
I also wanted to say, in reference to the fire imagery that we created based on the twin flame thing, you're talking about love bombing with gaslighting, and I mean, same term. It's almost like you leave one marriage and you see this fire, and you're like, oh, that's pretty, but you don't realize what's burning underneath it is garbage.
Yeah. And you it's their garbage and it's your garbage.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, let's get into that because that looks new.
Yeah.
Instead of that's familiar. And why do we feel familiar? What's going on here?
These two trash piles look familiar.
Yeah. So I said to her, you don't have the tools to even get into another relationship because you don't know the questions to ask yourself. And she goes, like what? I said, maybe why someone feels familiar or why you need to love bomb. Why can't you present who you are? Why can't you disagree? Why can't you just simply say your piece, your truth, and listen to theirs without thinking, well, and then I'd have to fix it, and I don't want to fix right off the bat. Can't I have fun at the beginning at least for a while? And I said, all of what you just did is like a petulant child. And I said, you do not have the right as an adult to be dating. You should not be dating. You should be in some form of therapy or program or recovering to heal and to learn and to get the tools and to practice. She goes, well, that sounds like that's going to be a long time. When will I get my next partner? And I said, no. I said, it's not, well, will I get another partner? So she just wants me to do psychic again. It's like, you know what? I can listen to some of it, and then she shuts down. And I said, no, let's go slower. Let's go slower. Let's answer some questions first. I will get to those. And then you can see that if she doesn't get what she wants right away, it's like, here comes the temper tantrum. But because my energy is different than other people that respond to that, and I'm not responding, I just sit back and I put my hand down and I look at her and I wait. She has a moment, instead of getting rushed into, I'm going to go full blown into my temper tantrum. She looks at me and all of a sudden she feels safe enough.
Yeah, because there's a fucking parent in the room now.
And asks me the right questions. And when she doesn't know what right question, she goes, I need your help.
Great.
And I'm like, okay, then let me ask the guides what they want to tell you. I will get the right question for you and we'll give you that information. So she allows that process to occur in the next 20 minutes. Instead of just give me those names of those books, I want to move on. What do you get about medium?
Also, I'm not going to read those books.
Right. Yes. To be dismissive. Next part of her session goes into her pattern of dismissiveness.
Which is number 3 on the list.
Yes. And she goes, what's dismissiveness? And I said, okay, it's a form of verbal abuse. It's very high at the top of the list.
Did you record her session by any chance?
Yeah. No, she did.
Great. She can play it back and witness it.
Yes. And I had the notes to send her and the resources. I was so happy at the end of the session. Now, happy for the spirit guides that they got to finally connect with her to bring all of these things to her. But I do realize, I'm an adult, I do realize that she could walk out of that session, pitch it all, delete it all, get the emails and put right into the delete folder, not listen to the shows, not do any of the work. I'm well aware that there are a lot of clients that behave like that petulant child, even though they're 35, 55, 85. I realize the chronological age has nothing to do with the age of maturity. But the guides wanted to have a good go at being honest with her and confronting her and being able to present options and choices to her and saying, they're here. Therapy is here. And she was like, we had a quick discussion about therapy because it was like, I've been to therapy. That didn't work. And it was like, no, I was going to say, nay.
That's also in the bingo square.
Therapy does work. And she wants to blame that the therapists are no good. And the guides come in and go, no, she had very good therapists. She is a petulant child. And we'll just keep repeating that. And it's like, so I confronted her and I said, every time you want to blame the man, first husband, second husband, every time you want to blame the children, you want to blame your friends, you want to blame every outside source. It wasn't a good therapist. It wasn't a good social worker. The kids don't have a good teacher. I said, it's a bad principal. I said, you are always dismissing the truth. And one of your patterns is dismissiveness.
And blaming.
Yes.
Like we just listed a bunch in there.
Yes. And I said, you truly need the 15 forms of abuse because it leads to your oppositional defiance disorder that you have.
Which is your depression.
Yes. And then everything cracked when that came through all in a row. This is your behavior of dismissiveness, the blaming, oppositional defiance to everything, depression, anxiety, and so on. And the very last part of this, the guide said, this is in her work environment. And I went, oh, good Lord. Am I supposed to bring that up now? I've got like 5 minutes left. And they went, yes. And this is, we want you to tell her to cap it off. And they're not angry. They're not attacking. They just simply said to me, she's going to deny that this comes into her work environment. And we are going to come back and say to you as proof that she has been written up. She has been verbally warned. She is on a stress leave, COVID-19. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, she says to everybody that she's on a stress leave from work for 6 weeks because she can't deal with COVID-19. But in reality, her superiors have put her on a leave for stress because of behavior. Instead of firing her, they offered her a stress leave. And she knows the truth, but has told no one, including her partner. So she's telling everybody she's on a COVID leave. And that's what she calls it, COVID leave. Because it's conveniently a way not to feel any shame, but it's also her way not to do any work. Yeah. So I told Camilla that, and she did, in true fashion, said nope and denied it. Nope, not at work. Nope. And then I said, no, you're actually on a leave of absence right now. And she went, I am. And I said, and you're calling it a COVID leave. And she's like, oh yeah, COVID, eh, Karen? And she was going to go launching into her COVID story. And I went, no, has nothing to do with COVID. And I said, and your superiors told you that this is not a COVID leave. This is a behavioral leave. And that if you come back without having done any changes, you're going to be dismissed.
Well, you might have just saved her job.
I may. We will see.
You may also have just given her gas to put on the fire.
Right? And I
or reason for her to put gas on the fire, I should say.
Yeah. So we ended, if anyone's wondering, oh my God, how did Karen get out of this alive? The way this ended was simply saying to her, you have an opportunity here to change your work environment. And I said, and I want you to hear something. This is from the Spirit Guides. Your coworkers are coming back to work because you're on a COVID leave. And she was like, what? And I said, management has let a couple of other people know that you're on a leave for 6 weeks. And they have returned to work because the reason they are on a stress leave for fucking real is that you actually stress them out that much that they actually are on stress leaves. And you are the common thread that the management has been able to see as to why 3 coworkers are all on a leave. It's you. And they are aware that it's you. You will be dismissed in 6 weeks. The other workers are back at work, so you can go and verify that on your own good time that those 3 people are back at work. And management has finally figured out, because of COVID, how to deal with you. You are the problem. And I said, so you're being told you're the problem at work, you're the problem in your family, with your children, you're the problem with the partnerships. This is on you. And they love you and they want you to get better. And that's why tools and that whole part of your session was so important. But what you do with them now really is going to affect your future career and your future family and your future relationships.
And mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
Girl, you earned your money.
I have to tell you, Kelly, I really enjoyed her session.
I bet. And I say that, I bet because of the guides and the just such clear instruction that they gave you on how to behave and deliver.
And because of that, I got to hand it to Camilla too.
Oh, yeah.
Because other clients, when I've said or you have said these types of messages, we call them our Facebook clients.
Well, yeah.
Where they just want to go right to Facebook and bash us, or right to Google and go to the website and try and, put bad reviews. They want to go to their friend group at lunch and say, and they want to do their thing because they're angry that the truth was presented. Mm-hmm. I now have to lash out because I'm going to dismiss the validity and the help.
Mm-hmm. Of your guides. Like, that makes me sick to my stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Because, as much as you go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Like, you can dismiss Karen and Kelly Sarlos as humans. That's life. But to have paid to sit down with the belief that you're going to talk to your soul and your spirit guides and then think, fuck all of you.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of lonely and a different kind of depression when you walk away from that session.
Yes. And I say that I loved her session because I could see her doing her work. Mm-hmm. I could see her. I'm waiting to see if her name's going to show up on Sips of Sanity on Patreon to join this beautiful group of patrons where we're going to continue to try and link them together now to support each other through the book club and stuff, where she's got tools and resources and trackers and all of these reflective questions and everything to get her going. to see if she's actually going to get some work done, because this woman is going to leave this man. At some point, this abuse is going to percolate, and she's going to do her leaving. It's in the contract that she actually do the leaving this time. And then she will be a single parent.
I love how you just drop this little thing in a contract like it's no big deal. And at no point in the actual session of our podcast have you informed us that that's part of her contract.
Well, it is, and I know it. So, I mean...
I know, but I think listeners are like, well, what, how, where did I miss that part? No, you didn't. She just like...
I dropped the bomb. It's in her sole contract to do the leaving. Yeah. And I'm confident because I get to read the contract.
I know, but I'm putting myself in the place of a listener who would think that they might actually book a session with you to say, is my marriage going to last? Because that happens a shit ton. Yeah. And it's like that answer, straightforward, does come up in the fact that we get to say, it's in your contract that he'll do the leaving. It's in your contract that you'll do the leaving.
Or you'll agree.
Yeah. But you slid it in there like it was the most common piece of knowledge of these gifts. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's not something to be overlooked.
Mm-hmm. I find it gives me great comfort channeling to read the contract that far into the future, to know it. Mm-hmm. I find that it helps me be very calm for them and very certain. And if I'm not certain, because there are variances in reading the contract that they might stay or might leave, I try to explain that to them, that it is iffy. It's iffy for some people's contracts, and for others it's not. It's clear who's doing the leaving. Mm-hmm. Very clear.
Neat. Mm-hmm. Are we all done for today?
Yeah.
Cool.
Kelly, I so look forward to, like, I know I don't remember clients that she might come again and say, I saw you and this is what it was about, and I won't remember it. Mm-hmm. I just look forward to her, like, the growth she could do, because there was something in her energy and how she fluctuated where you could see the crack coming, and that you could see her wanting to go back in and go, no, and stay within, and then poke her head back out again and go, okay, I'm out here. What could I get if I'm out here? Mm-hmm. Like, and I have empathy for that.
Yeah, it's a good place to be, as terrifying as it is. It's necessity for transformation. And
if you think back to earlier in this conversation, she has friends that are ready for her.
Yeah.
She's got an employer that knows that she's got problems and is dealing with it and is willing for her to come back and work through it with her, or they're going to get rid of her. Mm-hmm. And now, on her 6-week leave, she knows if Karen's any accurate and if these spirit guides are correct, she's walking back into being fired. Mm-hmm. They're preparing dismissal procedures for this lady.
And good on them. That's a good management team.
Absolutely.
Finally.
Yes.
You shouldn't be letting 3 coworkers go on a stress leave because one can't behave themselves.
You got it. And I mean, I think that in and of itself is a whole other story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm glad that she got to hear that. Mm. That their stress leave is on her because of her patterning and her verbal abuse. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for preparing.
You're welcome. I found it complicated to do this one because there was so much to a 1-hour session where she went off in different directions, and I didn't want to pull into the storytelling how difficult that was for me to keep regrouping.
Yeah.
And for the spirit guides, we worked our freaking butts off to make sure that we were on the right page for her, and we had to stay ahead of her. And we had to go into her past lives. So when anybody says, they're expensive, if anybody says we are expensive, I want to say we earn it. People just don't know what we are doing when we are quiet.
Also, we're not.
Oh, no, we are not expensive compared to others.
We've looked at others on the internet to see, and to no disrespect, who are straight mediums.
Yeah.
Who don't have the list that we've got on our site of modalities, and they're charging $800 an hour. Mm-hmm.
I want people to have the chance, no matter
to me that's theft.
Well, and you know what they might say? Well, they get movie stars and they have a higher clientele. What that makes
stealing
more money.
From a poor person and stealing from a celebrity is still stealing.
I'm just saying what their thinking is. I'm saying that I know that you and I want people to be able to have this kind of an experience. We want it to be
Accessibility,
affordable. Yeah, I want people to be able to hear their spirit guides talk to them, to figure out what a pattern is. If that means that they can change something in this lifetime before they die, that's the purpose.
Good. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, if you have questions or comments about today's show, you can email us at info@bysarlo.com. I want to apologize to anyone who was watching on YouTube today. As much as we think we have our shit together, our cameras did not work this recording, so that was a little bit rough on the editing part, but thank you for sticking with us. We will troubleshoot that. We also just want to say, if you have the time today to like, share, comment, review, subscribe, write a testimonial, whatever you feel inclined to do, that helps us hugely have the opportunity to reach more people, to provide them with these kinds of tools and connections. We hope you have a beautiful Saturday. Take care.